This is Mike Shore, and this is a short, very short tutorial on how to create a new project in Visual Studio C++ 2010 Express. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and create a new project, and I just want to create an empty project using C++, so I'm just going to go through and select this. For now, I'm going to select a default project location, which is basically going to put in your user directory off of the documents directory, and it's going to create a Visual Studio 2010 project. And I'm just going to name this tip app for tip application, because what we're going to do here is just create the little tip application we've been talking about in class. So once I've got all that selected, again, I just go and create a new project, let it be an empty project, and we're going to call it tip app and click OK. Once that's done, I'm going to right click the tip app name here right below solution. This is our actual application that we're building. I'm going to right click that, and I'm going to select, see if I can't get that to go over to where you can see it. I'm going to select add new item, and I'm going to select just a C++ file. I'm going to just call it tip.cpp, C++. Again, it's going to put it in our directory that the project selection created. I'm going to click add. Now, because this particular app, this application is going to use input from the user, I'm going to need to include the IO streams namespace. I'm also going to need to create a main function within my C++ file. When you create a C++ file like this, the main function is actually what gets run when your application is started. I'm going to make it a void main function, curly brace, and I'm going to close that curly brace to make the compiler happy. And then I'm going to start adding in the objects from our IPO that we created. If you recall, in class we went over the IPO and we created a list of objects that we're going to need to make our application work. First thing we're going to need is a total bill, and we're going to initialize that to 0. And we need to make sure that we close each line of code with a semicolon. So double total bill, double liquor, because if you recall, we're going to subtract out the liquor charges because we don't want to tip based on that. At least that's our object, or that's our algorithm that we've been asked to use. So double tip %. So whoever's using this application will be able to decide how much of a tip to leave. We decided in our IPO that we have processing to do, so we need an intermediate value of how much our bill is going to be used to actually create a tip. So we need a double total non-liquor amount. And again, end each. And then we finally need a tip amount. And again, we're setting all these to 0. And that's all we need as far as our variables. So the first thing we need to do is prompt the user for a value. So I'm going to do a cout, and again, we talked about this in class. Enter the total bill. Notice I put a space there so that the user will have some room to actually put a value in without having it butt up against my text. Then I need to put a C in, and we need to input the total bill. C out, enter the liquor charge, C in that actual liquor charge, C out, enter the tip percentage in decimal format. C in, tip percent, oops, tip percent. Okay, so at this point we've got everything we need from the user, so we can just do our calculation. And so we'll go ahead and calculate our tip. So the tip is going to equal, and notice I'm going to do a standard math type thing. I'm going to put everything in math notation. So I've got parentheses, total bill, minus liquor times tip percent. And there's my value that I've got, and now I can simply output that information to my user. C out, tip, $. Notice how I use the two angled brackets in between the things that I'm outputting, in this case, part of our variable. And I'm also going to use the NDL. And that's all there is to it. One last thing I need to do here, and for some reason this is a quirk to this particular install with the Visual C++ 2010 Express. I didn't encounter this in using the Visual C++ 2012 version, but it's requiring me to put this additional statement, this additional directive at the top. The IO stream include should be enough for all the C out, C in activity that we've got here. But one thing that I do know from doing a little bit of research on this is that the Visual C++ 2010 Express version has a few little quirks, some people would call bugs, in it. So we need to just play along with that. So I'm going to add this. Now the next thing I'm going to do is select Debug, and then I'm going to Build Solution. I could also just hit F7, but I'm going to do this on the menu for now. So I'm going to do a Build Solution, and you notice here that my application is complete and up to date. So let me make a modification and save it. So I'm going to do a Debug, Build Solution, and I get that it created my application and did a build successfully. Now to run this, since it's a console, I'm going to run this in a command window. So I'm going to do a, instead of doing a F5, which it shows here, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hit a Control F5, and it's going to open up my console window. So I'm going to enter a total bill of 100. Ooh, I'm living large. I'm having a big dinner. Enter. The liquor charge, let's say it was 25, so we were out having a good time celebrating. So, and then I'm gonna the waiter and waitress that were helping us out were really good, so I'm gonna give them a 20% tip. Oops, what happened? Well, my application ran and it went very. Now, because we chose this as just an empty project, this application doesn't know it's running in console, so we have to make one minor change to our system. So I'm going to right-click on my tip app, and I'm going to select Properties. From within that, I'm going to go down to my Configuration Properties, Linker, System, and then over here on my actual properties, I've got this subsystem entry. I'm going to change this and make it understand that it is a console app. Once I do that, I'm going to click Apply and then OK. And now I'm going to go ahead and again run this by hitting Control F5. And it wants to rebuild again because I made a modification to the system. So here's our bill, 100, enter, 25, enter, 0.20, enter. And notice this time it gives me a tip $15, press any key to continue. This is what's different than previously. So obviously we're doing 20% of $75, which gives us the $15 tip. So now if I hit the enter key, this will all go away. And there we go. So again, don't forget to go into your project properties, linker, system, subsystem, and make sure that you set the property of this particular project to be a console. And that'll solve that problem of the console disappearing on you. Hopefully this has been a good start, a good exposure for you on how to create a very simple project within Visual C++ 2010 Express, how to enter some code based on our IPO and our conversion to C++, and actually executing our application.